Well, every Monday morning, we get asked the same question. What did you do this weekend? The same answer? Nothing. The usual. Well, let's change that. There are low-cost ways to make the weekend exciting again and boost happiness and even improve your health at the same time. Hence, enter my next guest. I'm referring to Dr. Jeffrey DeSarbo. He's a neuropsychiatrist and author of the Neuroscience of a Bucket List. He now joins us right here on the Live Zone. Doctor, good to see you, sir, and welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much, Guy. Appreciate being here.
Yeah, I got to tell you, this is so important. You were discussing all things around, boosting happiness and even, improving health at the same time. Do tell.
Well, I think the main thing is, when for the past year, I've been really working on promoting, kind of trying to be the torchbearer of my father's legacy, who taught me about living life with a bucket list, which is living life a little bit differently as much as possible, because novelty is always something that stimulates the brain. It keeps it healthy as we age. And when we start to see things we do in our everyday lives as special moments and bucket list opportunities, we feel more gratitude. And I think it counterbalances all the stress in the world today.
One of the things that you have focused on, you say is so important, is the pattern interrupt principle. Can you expand on that?
Sure. Pattern interrupt is when the brain keeps going too much in the same direction, our routine. And that's why classically, like on a Sunday night, we often fall into this pattern of thinking about the next day, the end of the weekend, and we go through that next day of preparing in the morning with our basic showers, going to work or whatever we have to do. And our brain starts to get too used to it. It loses its own curiosity. And pattern interrupt is making an effort intentionally to keep life interesting by doing new things, whether it's taking a different route on your road to work, trying a different coffee at your local coffee shop, or sometimes just during your lunch break doing something that isn't typical, but maybe thinking about it a day in advance.
But wait, there's more. Then there happens to be the power of anticipation. I'm curious about this one.
Right. Well, when someone's working on their bucket list, it automatically starts to increase our neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin and acetylcholine, and it has this very positive impact on the brain. It gets us kind of excited, and we start wiring ourselves a little differently. And that's one of the things that, again, as we age, some of that wiring can start to fall apart if we don't take an intentional approach to trying to plan things we want to have in our personal lives.
Yeah, yet again, so important, and that's why we're so glad we have you joining us right here on the Live Zone. One of the things that you're also going to talk about, which I hope you really touch on, is the low-cost, high-reward ideas. And that is, yet again, we're approaching the weekend, and so I'm looking for something to do. I don't want it to be too expensive, but I want it to be a lot of fun. I need the big reward.
Well, I think the best thing is you're in Washington. There's so much to do that's actually free. I remember the last time I went to Washington, and I had on my bucket list, I wanted to visit the Library of Congress, and I got a card in advance for free and could actually go into the Thomas Jefferson building from 1987, sitting at the desk and the chairs that had presidents like Wilson and Teddy Roosevelt and JFK, Oliver Wendell Holmes. They all sat there. And when you sit there, it's almost like something comes over you. And there are so many things that are just in your area that sometimes you don't think about doing. And even if you know you're there, until you experience those little things, which can cost next to nothing, they're more powerful than some of the greatest trips and adventures you can plan.
Yeah, not only that, but we should make mention that the museums are now reopened yet again because the government shutdown has now come to an end. All right, so one of the things that you also stress is, hey, why don't you try something new, but do it together, perhaps with your significant other?
Yeah, especially when you can share those bucket list experiences, it just enhances it more. And I talk about how that's the neurochemical oxytocin, which is really our emotional bonding hormone. So sharing it with a person who means something to you, your best friends, your family, planning activities together, doing something, again, something new. That's the word novelty all the time I'm talking about. Something different. Even if it's going to a new restaurant, trying an Ethiopian cuisine, going to a different museum, or going to a different exhibit in the museum. Those things, just doing them as collectively has so much more power than even doing them by yourself. And that's the importance of that social integration, which we're just falling apart with in today's technical society as well. So
yeah, whenever I'm lucky enough to have an author on the show, I always pose the question, your favorite chapter and why?
My favorite chapter is probably not the favorite chapter of most. I love the neuroscience part. I am a geek in that way. And that's why I love what I do, is studying the brain. But in my book, there's so many chapters on actually how do you structure a bucket list, why it's important. And I have to kind of bribe people chapter 3, when I start talking about the brain, telling them, don't skip these next couple of chapters, because if make it a bucket list item to learn about the brain, you'll know, you read these couple of chapters, you'll know more than 95% of the people in the world about the brain and how your brain works. So that's my favorite chapter, although I know a lot of people simply love the introduction. So,
well, I'll tell you one thing, I cannot wait to get my hands on it so I can discover all of it for myself. Yet again, the book is entitled The Neuroscience of a Bucket List. It is authored by none other than Dr. Jeffrey DeSarbo. He was kind enough to join us on the Live Zone. Thank you so very much, sir. I truly enjoyed this.
Thank you very much. Great to be with you, Guy.
You bet.